And what is up, guys? And welcome to the rematch between Stravos96 and LilKirbs14. The legendary match that actually ended up tying to the frame. And I'm once again joined by Dangers to run it back. Dangers, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. I've been looking forward to this ever since basically they shot out the wire. I knew that it was either going to be too close to call or something along those lines. I knew we were going to see some sort of hype result out of this. I don't think you could really ask for anything quite as exciting as we're about to see here today. A rematch in a knockout elimination style tournament. You know, that's the kind of thing that doesn't come around every day. So I am very much excited for this. What about you, LimCube?
Yeah, saying that doesn't really come around often. I'm not sure if that actually ever happened before. I was like kind of going through some resources in Reddit trying to look up something that was like that. I found something in like Simply's tournament, apparently a race tied to the frame. There was a 16 star though, so a little bit shorter. But yeah, this must be incredibly rare, and I've never really heard about that happening at all. But it did happen, and obviously, there was like a big Reddit thread actually about that race, and people said they were sad that we actually couldn't react to it being tied to the frame. But when it took a while because we needed to reconfirm. But when we were actually realizing that it really tied to the frame, and we were obviously joking about that, like imagine they tied to the frame, and then they actually did. Yeah, unbelievable. I wouldn't really believe it at first, and then I checked the VODs as well. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, the verifiers did take upwards of like 6 hours just double-checking, triple-checking, just to make sure. You know, we had to download the video in like 3 different formats just to make sure. You know, you really do not expect something like this. I mean, we do understand that Super Mario Odyssey is optimized, but when you get into a category that's an hour long, you really don't expect to see a 60 frame per second game come down to literally the frame. And, you know, it's an amazing thing to see. And I think we've had quite a few of these tournament races in this month of December here come down really, really close. We've even seen some Mario Kart Double Dash action come down to 1 frame. We've seen a couple of 70-star Super Mario 64 action come down to somewhere between 5 and 6 frames. But tying to the frame in Super Mario Odyssey, something you just cannot even believe.
No, not really. Still not really comprehending what we are currently doing, but this is obviously the rematch. There has to be a rematch because only one of these guys will be advancing into the winners finals versus Sega. People were joking about a 2-player race, Stravos and Kirbs versus Sui, but yeah, I don't think we can do that. I don't think they are located close enough to make that happen, but we will have this rematch, and obviously the loser of this will still be around in the losers bracket and potentially climb all the way back up. But for now, I think we are getting ready. Starting screens on site. Really interesting also to bring up how close this entire race was, like, as it was happening. It did differentiate a little bit in Wooded, but then obviously came really close again in Bowser's. But we'll see how this one is going to be looking like. Obviously can't promise another tie, but these guys are very good, and we've literally seen last race what a race between these two can look like. So yeah, I'm interested to see, and we are getting underway. Curb starting the timer, starting the game. Strav is probably about to, and then we will just resync that real quick.
Yeah, just having a little bit of technical issues on the internet side of things going into this match, but we will try and iron those out as best as we can. Looks like we are going to be getting the sync underway here, and we're off to the races. Now, something to be mentioned about the last race is that LilKirbs was extremely consistent throughout most of his run. Stravos did make some mistakes, or no, rather the opposite, in fact. LilKirbs made some early mistakes. Stravos was holding on pretty consistently until the end when there was an unfortunate situation with the Robo Brutal where, similar to what happened to Chaos in one of his world record paced runs, got knocked off in a way that he was unable to recover, and that made up a lot of the time, and was able to make it within 10 seconds or so going into Moon, and then just a couple of minor mistakes is what kind of pulled it back together. So we'll see if that kind of same result comes about here, where Stravos just plays really clean, or maybe it'll be LilKirbs' turn to take the lead in this race.
But we're already seeing some sync action again. Actually, Stravos with a little bit cleaner rolls there over this bridge. Looking pretty even though. Nice frog room section as well. This won't cause them too much trouble. But going into left side, we'll see if we get more of these epic sync moments. I remember last time, obviously, especially the exit of Sand Kingdom where Stravos actually falling a little bit there, not getting that jump, so Kirbs is taking the lead. But the Sand exit of last race was just amazing. Let's see here, Kirbs probably delaying, stream delay a little bit. Let's see if we can fix that as fast as possible. Looks like we can. And he does hit that head. He's still in the lead, so it does look like he did get left side on his end, and just barely had here going into Cascade.
Yep, keeping the lead through Cap Kingdom here. Stravos just a little bit of spaghetti in the frog room, taking a couple extra jumps to make it up the platforms, and that's going to put him about 2 seconds behind.
Yeah, but nothing major. Logo is showing up relatively close to each other. Let me think back. I'm not sure if anyone actually had major issues at the start of Cascade, if I remember correctly. Maybe Kirbs actually ended up missing left side. I'm not completely sure. The early game was actually super close. That's all I remember, especially the Sand exit, obviously.
Yes, it did look like, I think LilKirbs had a little bit of a lead through Sand Kingdom, but Stravos pulling it together kind of towards the end, had a bit of a cleaner notes, and then they both globed at the same time and had an essentially synced Lake Kingdom. So that was basically where it diverged, is after that Wooded Kingdom came along, and I believe it was actually LilKirbs who missed the nut clip, and that was what started to put him behind.
Mm-hmm. That is right, I remember now. But looks like that Dino Jump is not causing any issues. Modern Brutal here for Kirbs at the very start, capturing the jump. Actually not getting the capture and taking damage, so we are already immediately back to sync here. These tiny little arrows just throwing these runners off a little bit. Hopefully we can get Kirbs' stream back on track. Once again, a little freeze there.
Kirbs doing the infamous Mad and Brutal stall. Planning some optimal RNG manipulation for later in the match.
Okay, it looks like he did get through, and the difference between them looks very similar as when they approached the fight, so I don't see too many issues. Obviously, Kirbs taking the little damage, I guess, damage boost, obviously very intended by him there. Not as big of a deal, especially when you grab a multi-moon. There's no damage refill animation if you get one of those.
Yeah, not with the multi-moons. You get to skip having to heal your damage and take an extra couple of seconds to do so. So no worries on LilKirbs' end there. Does look like he has about a half a second lead still coming through here.
To be fair, that's pretty much exactly what you can lose by missing chest clip, and we've seen actually way more misses than I expected on this one. I think this is mostly due to the fact that these runners try to go for this very fast chest clip now. Looks like Kirbs will take at least a little bit of time. Stravos is going for the faster version here. Let's see how much that will actually gonna help him to close this lead, and this is very close, both getting it up.
Yeah, Stravos opting for the fast chest clip there. Did get to see a little bit of a comparison. He was about a second behind going into that and did save just a tiny little bit of time.
Yep. And don't get fooled. Looks like we are having some issues with Kirbs' stream, with some occasional freezes there, but he should still be just barely in the lead here on these Aprils. But we do see almost a flawless transition again. Banners on screen at the same time. This is a pretty reoccurring picture from the last one.
I am experiencing deja vu right now.
Almost, right? Like, we are getting there. And Sand coming up. Who knows what is going to happen here? Are we going to be seeing another synced fade out? Would be quite amazing.
Only time will tell. Now, looking at the statistics of the last match, Stravos did have a little bit of a cleaner Sand throughout. LilKirbs took one extra Sphinx clip attempt, and Stravos was able to get, I believe, that first spin throw notes moon. So, you know, just even those tiny little optimizations might be what it takes for Stravos to kind of catch up here. It looks like LilKirbs probably got the action guide here, and Stravos did not. That is why they're kind of out of sync now all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure. Curbs definitely did have a little bit of a lead leaving Cascade, even though Stravos definitely had the better chest clip. But also this action guide obviously coming into play, potentially even losing you up to a second, and you cannot really fully control that. There's the most different and most amazing myths about actually how you achieve that fast action guide text skip like efficiently or like consistently, but it's really not completely figured out. But so far, actually, Curbs missing that ground point. I have no idea how that missed, because the second ground point looked to be on the exact same spot. But this is gonna do it, and immediately, I guess, will even things up again.
It's amazing to see just how much a simple like missed ground pound can kind of close the gap in a race like this. I've actually had a lot of trouble myself with ground pound moons. Those shining spots in the ground can sometimes be a little bit misleading.
Yeah, this one especially not even shining at all. But looks like Stravos is going to be going for that ice drum version. It seemed a little bit slow. I was right about to say he did get that extra dive, so he's actually going to be not getting that strat here. Curbs definitely taking off of this basically the entire bullet bill ride that he has just acquired.
Pulling ahead just a little bit further. He's gonna really enjoy that as they go into the Sphinx clip. Again, top runners do not have very much difficulty with the consistency of this trick, but it will give LilKirbs a little bit of breathing room as we approach this trick.
Oh, very rare mistake from Stravos there, rolling over that shiny spot, probably buffering one additional roll without actually inputting the spin pound input, so losing a little bit more time there. Curbs did get the first clip here at his first attempt. Stravos does this as well, but let's see how well that double clip is going to work for Curbs. Getting it first try again, wow.
Yeah, that second one is really the one that matters, because if you take 2 or 3 attempts at that second clip, then that bird is gone. That bird is going to fly away, and you are going to lose a very, very significant amount of time. Of course, as I say that, Stravos is indeed struggling with the clip, does end up getting it on the 4th try there, but he is going to have to hurry if he wants to make that bird cycle.
So actually, if we look at coins here, Stravos only at 96. Curbs did get 140. So obviously this is something I do like to keep track of here. This is nothing major these days anymore. And it might even be enough for Stravos to deal with. Like maybe it's enough to have 150 after this chest. Might get a little bit more tight, but probably still doable to go to Snow first. He needs 200 coins over the entire run. Curbs has them basically already, so he doesn't have to deal with any of these issues.
Yeah, I mean, you do kind of collect some odds and ends here and there. You'll probably... we didn't see any late clip ideas from these guys in the last race. Might still go for an idea like that this time, which of course leaves Rango available for some extra coins if necessary. Stravos might just do Rango to be safe in that regard, but worst case scenario, you can always go to Seaside for those free 35 to 40 extra coins.
Yeah, I wonder how this bird is going to be looking like, and yeah, pretty unfortunate there for Stravos, just passed him there, obviously due to him missing the second clip a couple times, but that won't be the biggest deal. This bird is actually very close to like the optimal bird position. The bird would be in its first lap though, so maybe that's something Stravos can react to, because he has been looking at that perfect bird cycle movement. Looks like that spin throw will work. Just barely missing the one spin throw version of that node, so just taking a minimum time loss on this one, and is going to be able to leave Sandy. No synced up fade outs on this one. However, if we look at Curbs' timer here, he's actually going to be getting something in the likes of like a 10:06, 10:07, which is very, very, yeah, 10:07 actually on his favorite day, which is really, really good.
Yeah, sub 10:10 is essentially the kind of like world record pace run that you can expect from a top level runner. So LilKirbs making basically no mistakes as we approach the late kingdom. Stravos, just a couple of minor issues on his part, putting him just about 20 seconds behind.
Yeah, it does make sense. Missing Dramstrat there, obviously losing him probably at least 5 seconds, and then 2 or 3 missed double clip attempts, plus the bird was slightly different because of that, so these mistakes actually add up. But yeah, Curbs, phenomenal run so far. Really, this is like world record pace material. Let's see how this lake is gonna go. I'm not sure if... I mean, definitely lake clip wouldn't be needed already to actually get a world record if you play amazingly well. But this is something that you would probably want to do in like a very nice paced run. I'm not sure if he's going to be trying it in a race like this, though. I doubt it.
Yeah, it's certainly not the safe idea, especially if you haven't practiced it very much. We only see really like the craziest of the top runners, I think, go for it. We've seen Stravos attempt it in a couple of his own race runs, but, you know, probably opting to just play it safe against an opponent that is a little bit more formidable.
I wonder, is he going to do it, though? Okay, yeah. I was about to say, maybe he felt a little bit like... maybe he felt like he needed to do something because he missed Dram and he missed double clip for a little bit. Maybe he felt like, oh, I need to actually go for that hard strat now to potentially better my chance of winning. But we've seen just recently how these ideas can backfire pretty heavily. I don't know if you caught that, but Tylo in a race a few days ago trying to go for that snowdrum without being fully confident and probably missing it around like 3 times. So if you do go for these advanced strats, you need at least some amount of confidence.
Certainly. Definitely not the kind of thing that you go into just hoping that they work, because there is a level of technical precision involved in those kinds of tricks. So while it is perhaps a good strategy to maybe throw off your opponent if you have it in your back pocket or something like that, definitely not the kind of thing that you want to be winging just out of the blue.
And oh, interesting. Stravos not going for the spin throw there at the very end to actually stall himself slightly above Rango. So he won't be able to pick up these coins along the way. This would have probably been pretty healthy for him. Still 43 to go until he would actually be able to purchase that next Moon in Snow. But this is still a long way to go. And as you brought up earlier, going to Seaside first is not a big deal at all. It's actually no deal if you mesh perfectly. It should be basically the same.
And there is still plenty of opportunity to pick up coins for Stravos as well. 1.2 does have some extra abilities up their sleeve. If you are playing on 1.2, you get the luxury of coin hint arts. Of course, that not really being very helpful in a very short category like this, where only 200 coins are required, but does come in handy for longer categories.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that coin hit out in Metro is probably actually slower than just going to Seaside. But to be fair, if you do runs, I know the feel. Like if you do runs and you have your splits set up in a certain way, and you don't want to deal with like skipping stuff, you potentially want to gold stuff. So it just kind of feels awkward to like do something else. Actually, Kirbs, I bring up all the time how he's one of the best at this very first section of Wooded. He's so incredibly fast there, going for the very fast first-person version before he talks to the shopkeeper here. But actually missing that boulder throw there, and he's going to be taking pretty big time loss for a simple trick like that.
And also not getting the optimal kind of zoom in on that shopkeeper. I don't really know what causes the difference. Sometimes you'll get the camera snap to the position that you want it to. Like sometimes it'll just zoom out slowly anyways. I'm not sure what exactly causes that to happen, but we might see Stravos not going for first person at all. But yeah, sometimes in my runs I do try the first person strategy, and it just kind of is a luck of the draw, essentially, whether you get to save time there.
Let's look at Kirbs' screen, though, because this is something that hasn't been going well for him last race. He does get the clip. He still needs to go through this out of bounds section. Now, this is where we have seen people fall quite a lot in these races, but this looked like a very solid out of bounds move, pretty fast as well. As long as he makes that dive back up, which he will, this is going to be pretty nice. I'm not sure if I'm liking Stravos' position right there, but he still gets the clip. It is really hard to tell for me these days if a clip is actually going to be working or not. Also, very fast out of bounds move. And if he gets that dive back out, this was kind of flawless, actually.
Extremely quick setup into the backflip to get that rock wall moon. It's exactly what you like to see. Stravos, I think, probably making up a little bit of time. In fact, getting the wall jumpless variation there into the roll along the railing, that was like some BTT level stuff right there.
State 4 announced right here, boys. This was actually crazy. The Tony Hawk grind there. This is something that really only he actually does ever. And he does, as you said, hold this like, oh, Kirbs actually almost falling. They're just barely holding himself. This is a very scary section to fall in, since this is actually a deep woods loading zone. Also falls here at the salt triple jump. Man, there's so many triple jumps. Poison, salt, cage, whatever. But does take damage here. And actually, Stravos bonking, there's so much happening at the same time. Looks like both of them have slight errors here with it, but the major kingdom is looking pretty hot. Stravos probably making up some time over Curbs even.
Does look like he's closing the gap just a little bit. Still has a little bit of ground to make up. Did get the spin pound on the nut and the up throw to maintain his height there to grab the moon. Very solid stuff coming from Stravos. Now, Wooded, like when I run Wooded, it's probably just one of the hardest kingdoms. I feel like I can't help but lose 10 to 15 seconds every single time I run it, and it's just because of all these little things that kind of we've added into Wooded, and some of it happens behind the scenes, some of it we saw LilKirbs almost take a very tragic fall to, and then there's always that scary kind of looming danger underneath the stage that is the deep woods. Making mistakes in a lot of places in here are, could be very costly.
Stravos not only
dive.
Missing the triple jump, but also getting the classic Vado dive. We are not completely sure what causes this. His coins are actually dropping right now. 50, he surely needs to go to Seaside first. But this is going to be the smallest issue on his mind right now. Not only missing the triple jump, but also missing Cappy on that dive there. This is really, really unfortunate, and it's going to cause a pretty big time loss for him.
Yep, did go for the roll cancel jump back up here. Maybe this is kind of where he's starting to go into his mind and say, okay, gotta start doing some of the faster stuff to get my ground back on LilKirbs now.
I think he actually did that on his first attempt. This is something he's like super good at, but he definitely needs to, he needs to turn up the pace right now because Curbs still not really making many big mistakes. There's these slight errors like that boulder at the very start here in the kingdom, and missing the poison jump. But other than that, this is still very, very solid. We'll see what this kingdom actually is going to be turning out to be as far as like the full game, I guess full-time kingdom split, but not split. What do you call it? Like the wooded exit, as far as the full time is concerned, is going to look like. It's going to help us see how well this run is going.
Yeah, we will see LilKirbs warp to the Odyssey now. Probably going to be globing in just a couple seconds here. Still very solid pace from him. Meanwhile, Stravos just entering the pipeway area here, so does have quite a bit of ground to make up. That death is going to be very costly, like I kind of mentioned as he was on his way to it. It's just a very scary kingdom. Lots of very vertical challenges around, and falling is very costly here.
Yeah, looking at something like a 1839, which is not the absolute greatest pace we've ever seen anymore. That wasn't even the case in Sand, but it was just very flawless and solid. Definitely these little mistakes are not going for LilKirbs showing here if you compare this to the best exits ever. Stravos is probably going to be getting something like a 14, I mean a 1914. So looking at that, we can kind of gauge the difference between these guys, probably around 35-40 seconds. So definitely pretty big, but this is only wooded, so this is not the end of it.
Yeah, we still have a lot of game to cover here, lots of ground to go. And of course, we did see a 50-second lead in the previous race between these two that did diminish towards the end. Anything is possible.
Yeah, for sure. And then again, I am pretty sure Curbs is still sitting at like a 101.01, right? If I'm remembering correctly. And I think
yes,
with a pace like this, you can actually still get a 101, probably, if you play everything super well. A 100 is what I'm saying. So he's potentially on PB pace if you play everything like super.
Yeah, it would require very precise play, very close to gold kind of consistency, but it is possible.
Getting some hits in there on Bowser, actually already back to the ship, little wrong warp there. Obviously still struggling with some stream issues there. Strangely, only on Curbs' side. We will look into this more and hopefully can offer a little bit more consistency as far as that is concerned. But Stravos still fighting Bowser and Curbs starting up Lost here. This is also something we've seen some hits in these recent races.
See a little bit of momentum issues there with LilKirbs, getting kind of caught on the terrain, having to back up this meme tree jump in a way that maybe loses him a couple of seconds, but does find a backup pretty solidly there.
Yeah, that's still fine. He definitely struggled a little bit getting on top of the tree leaf there. But when he actually started his setup for the backup, that looked solid. Definitely not too slow.
Yeah, but all these things going to be taken into consideration. You know, Stravos can close the gap with some clean movement, seeing him do this meme tree jump much cleaner.
For sure. Ooh, missing that spin point there. Not the end of the world. Not as bad as the actual miss. Ooh, Kirbs actually up throwing. That looked kind of risky. Obviously, Klepto sitting on that tree branch ready to steal the head. If you were to actually throw it into him, but that up throw denying him that. Kind of scary though.
Thankfully for Kirbs rather, not making that mistake. Did look like he got the double spin buffer out of that spin pound off of the tree, which is a very annoying thing that can sometimes happen. The most common place for me to happen is essentially the City Hall roll cancel after you come out of the top of City Hall there. Sometimes it just keeps spinning and there's nothing you can really do about that. But LilKirbs getting the cage triple very cleanly here, on his way out of Lost Kingdom now. Very minimal mistakes aside from that double spin buffer.
Yeah, and at the very start, obviously, having a little backup there, but nothing major, no death, no big damage done to his run. Looking at the timer right now, again for this fade out, it's probably going to be something like 22:30. This is something we can probably summarize this with. Stravos with a pretty interesting angle there towards that last moon. Might not be able to actually save himself with the wall jump, but will actually be able to do it. So that's nice for him. He would have lost probably around 2 seconds if he did end up falling into the poison there. But this is still fine. Globe being right here. Probably going to be looking at still these like barely 40 seconds between these guys.
Yeah, Stravos does indeed have his work cut out for him, but like we said, anything can happen.
It's actually only 36, which even though that's almost 40, it's also almost 30, so not actually as drastic, and something like a 3 cycle would already diminish this to a pretty minimum. Yeah, and if I actually remember correctly, this was actually something that Kirbs struggled with in the last race. Isn't that the place where he fell down at the girder sandwich and had to like climb back up?
That's right. I believe he maybe took a bonk or something on the way over and had to essentially climb all the way back up. So probably very happy with this performance here, being able to get through the girder sandwich just fine and on his way through, keeping his momentum well here.
Yeah, looking quite a bit better right now. Getting the climb through the City Hall here. Once again, not completely sure who actually built this place. Not completely sure what is the actual architecture purpose of this building. But I guess it is a video game, so we shouldn't probably think about it too much. And Kirbs does pass it pretty optimally. This is actually once again such a reoccurring picture. I've seen this so many times in these races recently, where one runner would actually come out of the City Hall while the next one has been entering. And it also tells me that exactly these kinds of... Actually, this might have been the exact last race.
Yes, except with the outcome reversed, essentially,
exactly.
Where Stravos
Kirbs
was ahead last time.
Yeah, Stravos being the one that actually left the City Hall while Kirbs was entering it. This time we do swap these positions around, so this also tells us how this obviously can still go either way.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I do remember you saying that exact same thing last race, so the deja vu continues here, just swapping the roles essentially.
Kirbs is already dealing with that dodging. Actually already at the shooting phase right now, as this starts looking like miss a shot early. Let's see if he's going to be able to react to the rest of this pattern. And looks like he will.
Did clean it up pretty nice there. So it is going to fall on Stravos to follow suit. Hopefully he gets a nice pattern and is able to kind of follow in the footsteps, get a clean finish with this wiggler, get the pattern down quickly so that he doesn't lose any time.
Let's see. Getting actually that fireball is pretty close. It probably won't end up exploding too early for him to clean up this wiggler here. Does take a little bit of time to make that last shot, but no fear of a 3 cycle here. This was very under his control, so he can be happy about that part.
They had a very similar pattern, actually. The wiggler coming back into vulnerability as he crosses across the top like that. So very interesting to see how these patterns can sometimes reoccur, even though the RNG is a real big factor.
LilKirbs setting up the first capture warp of Metro. We do a couple of these in that kingdom. And now it's going to be coming up to Scoot Clip again. Something that I do like to highlight in these races. If someone misses this in a run, in a race especially, suddenly time keeps dying, or immediately starts dying down on them. But looks like LilKirbs gets a pretty nice one. Drive by Strat as well. So they can be happy about that.
It's amazing how tilting that trick can be. When you miss it on the first pass, for some reason it is incredibly hard to try and reset the backup strategy for that particular trick. And I think just like the mind games that you play with yourself actually causes more problems than the trick itself.
Absolutely. LilKirbs struggling with his taxi cycle a little bit there, so kind of having to go for a little bit of a slower strat there, jumping out of the way and then also land. I mean, I guess hitting his head against one of these walls, so definitely not exactly optimal. Losing a little bit of time on that one.
Meanwhile, Stravos is having what appears to be a textbook day Metro Kingdom so far, landing on the bench friend well ahead of the taxi. Won't have to fight for the taxi at all. He can just go Kingdom on his way. So making up seconds as we go through.
Yeah, for sure. This movement towards that girder also looked a lot cleaner. We can look at the time again as we leave Metro to kind of gauge what we are looking at right now. And then obviously one thing to keep in mind is that Stravos is only at 78 coins. I doubt that he's going to be taking any risks here and trying to go for like some crazy coin routing. So he's probably just going to be pressing that down button. I guess that down control stick input 1 to be able to travel to Seaside first. So this is once again where we will see these guys, I guess, diverge from what they're usually doing. And then we'll come back together. Wow, the synced screens again, a classic. But we'll come back together in Luncheon.
Yeah, it might be difficult to tell who exactly has the advantage as we approach these next two kingdoms. It would surprise me quite a lot to see Stravos go for Snow first. I think 22 coins is doable in Snow Kingdom. There are some kind of strewn about in the sub areas and things, but that being said, it's not very easy to kind of keep that on your mind while you're going through it. So the smart play here would be for Stravos to go to Seaside first.
Yeah, to try and like sowing through snow, that would just lose way more time. So definitely going to Seaside for Strav here. LilKirbs making his way over these with any issue. Getting the full moon now. Is he? I think. We are currently struggling a little with the restream. Once again, apologies if the stream has getting a lead. This is probably due to our production side here. We are looking into this. We can't guarantee that it's immediately going to be fixed, but I think we can at least see now what is going on again. LilKirbs already in that last sub room, getting the second to last moon, about to get that last one.
Just gotta dive over the crowd of people, over the flinging poles and onto the last moon. Then he just has to warp back to the Odyssey. Meanwhile, Strav grabbing this cafe moon into the people's room himself and just following slightly behind.
Very nice dive there, kind of diagonally flying into that room. Optimally done here. LilKirbs already hitting that globe. So this is going to be another reference point for us to look at the timer and see what this is actually looking like. If we do look at the timer now, the potential 1:0 pace at this point probably not really feasible anymore. Something like a 30. Here. Really, but very, very much, and he can be happy about this one. Stravos globing at 32 now, so we are probably going to be looking at something like 53. So taking all of these factors into consideration, the lead actually shrunk a little bit, probably looking at something like 34 seconds.
closing the gap here. And, you know, it's really going to come down here to Stravos to make sure that he remembers to go to Seaside first. Luckily, with the Snowdram route that we have developed, it is possible to skip out on the shop and go into that Rango sub area that we used to incorporate into the route before Snowdram became a thing. That being said, of course, it is slow and it's not something that most runners today optimize or practice very much. So if he does somehow forget to go to Seaside, I actually didn't see if he chose.
He did. He's going to Seaside.
He's going to Seaside, so no problems there.
Kirbs is actually losing a little bit of his momentum. They're going over towards Shiveria after grabbing that Toad Moon, but now it's Stravi time, as he likes to say when he approaches this kingdom. Last time he did have a little bit of an issue here with that first jump. Looks like this is going a lot better now. And making it into that pipe without any issues. Kirbs, very healthy on coins, 139. He won't have to deal with anything here, just needs to go through snow as fast as he can. And we're already letting you know in advance that even though we are having some stream issues here, some occasional freezes, it looks pretty good right now. But we are going to be doing a little... Oh, Stravos, unfortunate bonk. We are going to be doing a little stream restart here in Ruined, so you guys won't miss any gameplay. Not of the actual stream, just some restream side of things to stop LilKirbs' freezing there. That might also mean that we are probably going to be skipping a little bit of Ruined gameplay, but I hope you guys don't mind. I surely don't.
I do realize that it is probably the most exciting part of the run, so you guys are probably heartbroken, but you know, we gotta do what we gotta do here.
Absolutely. Kirbs actually getting that optimal leaving one spiny alive strategy there. I don't actually know, this doesn't really have a name. We always say the leaving one spiny alive strat, which, I mean, this is kind of bad. There should actually be a name for that strat.
Yeah, it was something that I think Stravos was actively going for quite a while, and nobody really understood why, but then it kind of became clear as the BTT sheet shows. You know, that's leaving that one spiny does in fact save a little bit of time just from how much the camera needs to move. So yeah, I don't know why we don't have a name for it.
And it should actually be called the Stravy strat instead of the spiny strat. This is kind of like similar, and Stravos is actually one of the first ones to really look at this and say, wow, this actually saves time. So I'm just going to call this the Stravy strat now, and if people ask, well,
there you go. Stravos grabbing the coins that he needs in Seaside there in that little tunnel. Not going to be... He approaches Snow.
Ooh, falling quite low there, but still keeping the momentum of that triple jump, making it over to that main island where the Story Moon is sitting, as far as that snow gameplay is concerned. And Stravos does get a pretty solid Seaside. He obviously taking a little bonk at the third, the one in this like semi-pseudo 2D area, which is actually 3D and really likes to mess with your hand-eye coordination, I guess. Kirbs not actually hitting the door there, slightly wasting some time on that little sign. But now he is going to be coming up to Snowdram, which is where things get a little bit more serious.
Now, both these runners having flawless execution throughout this tournament on Snowdram, 100% accuracy from both of these guys. So not going to be expecting anything bad to happen, but of course, that is still a very technical trick. Anything is possible.
Let's see. Does get some very, very nice, actually, delays on this one. Even though the vector didn't look quite optimal, the way he delayed his stuff, still kind of fighting. Yeah, for sure. I do think Stravos should be pretty confident with this one. Actually, mostly all of these top runners don't really struggle with it. I feel like once you really fully like understand the properties of like air momentum, snow rim does get a lot easier. We've seen people do like the craziest stuff. That being said, it's not impossible to miss. Let's see if Stravos will be getting it. It looks like he will, though.
Yep, nailing down the trick. First try, no issues on Stravos' side at all. On his way now to Luncheon Kingdom, and he does still trail by just a little bit.
Yeah, so 47 was the fade out for Kirbs there. This is going to tell us once again how this is looking. And Kirbs probably losing a little bit more time here again. And yeah, checking these timers right here. This is a 12, so probably... Wait, actually... I can't do math, dude. It's hard. 13. Oh yeah, 25. That's the number I was... The seconds actually only anymore. So yeah, Stravos really coming up. Kirbs struggling quite a bit with that third moon and seaside, bonking quite a lot. And Stravos very solid gameplay in this. So yeah, closing that gap a little bit without even like many major mistakes. Actually, like no major mistakes, just some slight issues.
Just minor movement. Now this kingdom, of course, could really seal the deal, and the stamp down on this Luncheon is not the hardest kingdom, but the optimizations will add up. The most solid path. Anything is possible.
And it seems like we are one heavy issues with this. We are going to be doing a little bit of ruin because since we had little freezes, if you were to see, you guys would miss around like a minute already, maybe like even 90 seconds. So we don't want to have happen at all. Even though it's hard to watch at some time, this should be where too much. Some
The static in root difference between these as recently to make sure it's time Luncheon Kingdom and going by the looks of it.
Curbs coming up at that triple jump, no issue for him. Getting that crate. The plaza here, the Perona Plaza, which is actually the name of this place, pretty relaxed. You can do some crazy stuff for that turnip that we've seen in these segmented ideas of a speedrun, but probably won't be seeing it today. So yeah, kind of relaxing at Perona Plaza a little bit. I guess actually that triple jump is pretty hard once you learn it. The triple jump where you hit the crate quickly, but nothing major. However, after you leave this place, immediately things start heating up again, quite literally. Obviously jumping over the very hot whatever, like cupcake glazing or whatever.
The molten Pepto-Bismol of sorts, you could say. And yeah, as soon as you leave Perona Plaza, basically, you take a spin pound right into doom. And any misstep will land you in this kind of fiery liquid. So want to be avoiding that best as possible. Rolling across that salt pile can be quite daunting in my experience as well. Sometimes you mistime your roll boosts and you can just roll right into the lava on the other side, so that's not fun. But neither of these guys having any troubles with that.
Okay, interesting. So basically, the entirety of the Forks room is the lead that Curbs is still dealing with. This is, if I remember correctly, something around the 26-second mark, so kind of reassures what I was saying earlier as they left that kingdom. So Luncheon has been going well for them so far. However, with Turnip Clip coming up, we can see some slight differences. I think, yeah, Curbs going for the long jump approach here. I know Stravos plus the spin pound there. Let's see, this will actually not work, so he will have to reset this turnip, I guess reset it up pretty quick back up on this one. If he's going to be able to get that clip here fast, he probably only lost around 3 to 4 seconds on that little reset up. But we will be seeing if Strav can play this well. This turnip position is quite awkward. He's probably not going to be able to do the spin pound here. Will still go for it and actually manages to kind of like curve this out just well enough. And this position might barely work. I wonder if he does have the confidence to try it out. Also does take damage here. So even if this was to work, also not really optimal. Yeah, okay, the turnip is still a little bit too far away.
Stravos showing, yeah, just a little bit of shakiness throughout that entire turnip section there. Unfortunately, not able to save time over LilKirb's mistakes.
Yeah. And Curbs making his way over to the second to last moon, even though the last moon yields you in 3. Since this is a multi-moon, just has to get through this weird terrain here, gets these jumps fine though, no bongs, only pretty much 2 captures to go, gets the first one, gets the second one, and this should be it as far as Luncheon is concerned, making his way over to Ruined, where once again we will be restarting these streams within the restream real quick. So we might skip around a minute of actual gameplay, but yeah, Ruined and gameplay long is what I'm going to say to that.
I don't even think gameplay really exists. It's more of a cutscene, if you ask me.
Exactly. So Stravos also capturing the meat here and about to go over to that multi-moon. Let's get more time on that turnip clip just because of hit there, and he also should still be less as far as this difference is concerned. And going into Ruined here, I doubt that we'll see that much.
I would be very surprised, of course. We have seen some crazier things happen. World record holders, in fact, losing time in Ruined, but, you know, as long as things are taken slowly and carefully, we should not have very many problems here.
Exactly. All right. And looks like we are currently bringing LilKirb's stream back up. He's probably currently dealing with that nasty dragon sitting up top there. Actually, never mind. He's already done. Woo! Ruin skip, boys. We did it.
We figured it out. Sub hour is indeed possible. All you have to do is reset your stream and come out on the other side looking fresh. Multi-moon sitting there waiting for it.
He literally skipped the fight. The multi-moon just perfectly spawned, dude. That's the key. Okay, obviously, we are probably going to be looking at something along these lines on Stravos' screen as well. Probably just dealing with that last phase of the dragon. Maybe also just soon. Yeah, literally just spawning here. So we did these streams back on track and probably looking at those 25 seconds between them. Dude, I wish we could do this every time. That's actually so cool.
Just have a short commercial break every time we pop out on the other side, right as the multi-moon is spawning. That would be great.
Oh my god, I just realized how comfortable a ruin skip would be. The kingdom grabbing that multi-moon and leaving again, that would be a dream.
Yeah, that would be. Unfortunately, can't really expect anything quite like that yet, unless we find something crazy. For the sake of this race, however, we were able to pull some kind of magic behind the scenes to skip the ruin fight. I'm sure you guys are heartbroken. I'm sure you guys are very sad, but there will be plenty of ruined action for you guys in the future of this tournament.
Guaranteed, sadly. Yeah, but this was nice. This was refreshing. Got the fight out of the way. I could get used to that. But yeah, already starting up with Bowser's right now. And once again, this is actually less of a lead that Kirbs has over Stravos now than Stravos had over Kirbs the last time. But yeah, Stravos probably losing around 40 seconds on mech, not only bonking at the very start of the fight and not making it up to the first bubble, but then especially falling down after the second hit, which is the most drastic phase to fall on, because the mech wouldn't immediately spit out one of these Pokeos and actually starts his like attack pattern, jump, like walk around. It's really annoying.
Yeah, that's right. Now, and it's really going to, as long as both of these runners can play it safe, then the Moon Kingdom is still going to be rather tight. Of course, anything can happen within that Robo Brutal fight. And, you know, if LilKirbs is just as unlucky as Stravos was last race, this will come back down to the wire again.
Oh, Kirbs already on making that dive. Not as optimal as possible. Most of his momentum here and also grabbing the shard. No unintended Pokeo shots this time, not getting shot. One of these Pokeos, which is something we've actually been seeing recently. But pretty optimal here, and yeah, this shard section between the two. Once again, these 25 seconds, which is this is what I'm assuming it is right now. It might be 24, might be 23, 22, might also be 20. I don't want to guarantee anything here, but this is still very, very close as far as this is concerned. Not as like synced as we are almost used to them for right now, but yeah, let's wait until we actually get past the Mecha Brutal.
Yeah, as far as these platforming sections are concerned, they are making rather quick work of it all. But we have not approached the hardest part of this kingdom yet, and that's where the decisions will kind of be made as far as who is keeping the lead or who is losing the lead as we go into the Moon Kingdom.
And talking of decisions being made, very optimal decision by the LilKirbs here, fighting Harriet first. Very nicely done.
Good choice, solid effort.
Oh no! That was
kind of bizarre. Stravos not choosing to really change his camera angles
at all. Yeah, it was so
the setup there was very, very, not a good idea. Did do exactly the same thing again.
Man.
Apparently confident enough in it that he's willing to kind of throw it away again, but did get it that time.
Dude, crazy. If that's actually set up, that's scary. If that's actually the way he's trying to do that, like, wow. Okay, I mean, he did get it second try. This death is not the end of the world. Obviously falling down quite long. So probably losing like 12, I'd say. 12 seconds to this one, maybe even 15. But there's worse deaths to take. And right now we are really looking at basically like a rematch. as far as like the difference between these guys is concerned. Kirbs taking Stravos' position of the last one, and Stravos taking Kirbs' position. So yeah, Mech definitely something we want to focus on as we get there.
And that was the kind of decision maker in the last race that these guys had. You know, the leader having a little bit of difficulties with the mech fight, causing the very, very close gap to form between the two of them. So if something like that is to happen on LilKirb's side, we might be looking at another tie. Who knows?
Alright, so Kirbs getting past the crates here. No mistakes made in this Bowser's really so far. And should be really happy about this one. Stravos definitely, other than that death, still playing well. So, ooh, wow, okay. Kirbs going for the optimal Pokio strat here and just almost taking a little dip there in the poison, but able to make that work and actually playing this really optimally.
Yeah, LilKirbs, one of the runners that I notice always tries to go for that kind of optimal Pokio strat. It always scares me to watch that happen, watch that go down, but obviously confident enough in his abilities to pull it off.
Okay, Stinged Fade Out and Mech coming up. Once again, this is probably around the same lead that we did see last time, just reverted, but Kirbs not falling at the very start here of the climb, but actually managing to hit that first bubble. Also spin pointing towards the second one here, so this is looking pretty good so far. Obviously the phase that did end up really messing up Stravos last time is this one. Kirbs deciding to go to the first person here, maybe that's actually the key. That's actually interesting. I wonder if you could actually fall in first person.
That would be a sight to see. I think that you know, that would make for some interesting gameplay visuals as well.
Target acquired.
Target acquired.
For Kirbs there, no issues on this mech, playing this very well. It's fair to say that both of them did have some pretty actually heavy issues in Moon, especially with Moonskip. And Stravos almost falling at the very end there and at the 2D skip, which actually made probably, I mean, everything in that last race really decided the outcome. Oh no, Stravos having to deal with the same issues again, not getting that climb first try. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Okay, very quick back up. Doing it with the spin point and still getting back up. Let's hope after that failed attempt he's not going to have to deal with another fall here.
It was a very rare situation, the one that he experienced in the last race. Getting knocked off the top of the mech, not something that you see all the time, but is a possibility. Just have to make sure that you're not standing in the wrong spot, essentially, and getting... He's going to be safe this time.
Looks solid, looks solid. Let's see. Target acquired is still something that he does need to get here. Sets up on that line here. And I didn't really like this camera, but I think he will still get it. Target acquired as he makes his way over to that bubble and also defeats that mech pretty flawlessly. So Kirbs, pretty solid lead right now. It might be as much as something like 50 seconds, maybe 45. We'll be able to tell at that fade out here. I'd actually say more like 50 seconds. Yeah. Wait, it's actually more. Wow. That
Yeah,
Bowser's really...
LilKirbs did have a much cleaner, after the brutal rematches essentially, did have a much cleaner go through Bowser's Kingdom. Got the triple jump around to the crates with like flawless execution.
Oh, I forgot.
The optimal strat with the Pokio on the way over to the wall, as well as a perfect mech fight. Stravos,
yeah, I forgot the bonk at the start. I forgot the bonk at the start for Stravos there, not making it up top the first time. But yeah, actually looking like a minute and more, a minute and 7 seconds is what I was like kind of looking at, because that from that moon grab until you end the kingdom, it's usually like a minute and 5 seconds. But yeah, pretty rough. If anything, we are probably looking at escape right now. We obviously want to keep track of everything happening here, especially Moonskip once again, losing you quite a bit of time if you do make a mistake there. But so far, Kirbs playing this one nicely. Hopefully getting both floors here.
And despite the slightly larger difference, of course, these runners may or may not know their exact pace versus their opponents, so you can imagine that the nerves are still extremely high. LilKirb's still on pace for what looks like a high 101. So, you know, you can expect that he's going to want to try his best to keep that and that obviously can be a little bit nerve-wracking. That dive was extremely risky, but was able to make it up on the bridge anyways and into the cathedral here.
Yeah, one thing that is a little bit underlooked is actually if you, I mean, failing Moonskip is the one thing, but if you fail a dive and die, you actually spawn at the Odyssey.
Yes.
So this would have actually tied them, kind of. So yeah, this was really scary for a second there, but Kirbs having the confidence to go for that dive and also nailing it. So he will be busy fighting Bowser now, as Stravos makes his way across the surface of the moon.
And that in itself is probably the scariest part of the Moon Kingdom. That not necessarily that the platforming or the boss fights or the escape are relatively that difficult, but it is kind of separated into those 3 chunks, and if you die at any part of those chunks, you get sent back to the beginning. So, you know, dying in the 3rd phase of the Bowser fight sends you back to the beginning of the Bowser fight. Dying to the Moon Cave skip sends you back to the Odyssey. Dying in the Pillar Room sends you way back to the beginning of the escape. So even though it's not very hard, it is an extremely scary place to make mistakes.
True. Only 3 checkpoints really, as you just brought up, but Kirbs right now playing this Bowser fight, getting the 2nd head grab, known to be probably the trickiest one. And Stravos rolling over here to start the fight himself. So now actually, even though this won't probably happen, but I was interested. So if you die while being Mario, you know, before you even capture Bowser, you will probably spawn there though, right? Like on that little slope before you capture Bowser. That's like pretty off topic right now, but I just got curious.
You know what? I would hope so. I mean, I don't really see how you could go about making a mistake such as that, but it would be kind of strange if you defeated Bowser, it brought you to this escape
alive
secret,
again.
and then it just like made you do the fight again or something like that. So
yeah, I can see that. But I don't think we'd see that one today. And Kirbs is still looking at that 101. Starting up escape here. Actually, not even like a high one, would be like a mid 101, which is not even that far away from his PB. And if we look at these very visible mistakes that he had made during this run, we just know how good of a runner he is and what potentially really has. But there is still some gameplay to be had, especially that 2D section coming up right now.
Yep, and a fail or a fall here could be all it really takes for Stravos to catch up. You do see he is finishing up this final fight. LilKirbs going for the 2D skip and getting it, so no issues here. But yeah, had he died in the 2D section, of course, finishing off Bowser just now means that they would be essentially tied.
Pretty much, yeah. But he does clean that one up. And still, Pillar Room between him and the actual end of this race. Rarely do we see an actual big mistake here. So he can really focus, potentially, on that. This is actually, like, 1x pace, theoretically. Like, if he has a super clean Pillar Room, like 101 1x, which is crazy with like the mistakes that he made, which they are not big, but this is really like a really crazy run. Let's see if he's gonna be able to close this one out though. There's still some shots to be made, there's still some jumps to be had, but currently looking like a very solid Pillar Room, getting nice shots and nice claw swipes in there. Only that last pillar really took the fall.
Getting pretty optimal. Oh, of course I jinxed it, Commentator's curse, but did get the fireball back up there. Is going to be on the last platform, and you know, I think Kirbs is going to be really happy with this performance. If there was a race to kind of clutch it out and really bring it home, he did pick the right race for sure. There will be no tie situations here on this day. We do have a definitive winner, and that is LilKirbs with a 101.22.
That's actually so much better than I expected. Like, no offense, these runs have looked really good, but I do remember just slight mistakes like everywhere, just a little bit, you know? So really surprised, actually, that this ended up being this time, because if you think about it, Stravos' PB sitting at a 101.14. This was incredibly hard for Stravos to beat if we look at this way. I'm definitely sure Stravos has a ton of PB potential, but this is only 8 seconds away from Stravos' PB, so incredibly high performance there for him to even try to defeat there. But yeah, Kirbs taking the win after that against all odds rematch that was bound to happen apparently. Really, both of them, once again, as a reminder, this only happened because they actually already had a race which tied to the frame. But Stravos looking to be ending this one about a minute after Curbs here, getting that 1:02.26. So yeah, very nicely done by him. Still getting an amazing time as far as an 80% run is concerned. 1:02, really incredible. But we'll be dropping to losers, not out of the tourney.
Still has a chance. He is very far within the losers bracket with a loss in the semifinals of the winners bracket. So he will actually have to wait for his opponent a couple of days to figure out who he's going to be playing. But that being said, LilKirbs is coming in and snagging that finals in the winners bracket spot, stealing a potential rematch between Stravos and Suisaga here.
Well, it can still happen, but anyways, for now, it won't happen. And GG's Curbs at first on the win. 1:01.22. I was quite surprised. Like, I'm not saying your run was bad. It obviously surely wasn't. It was actually a really good run. But I still remember just some minor mistakes all around, and just obviously tells us that everybody in this particular matchup is capable to get a 1:00. But to be fair, you got, like, I think if I remember correctly, like a 10:07 sandwich was really good. And then you had some issues in Wooded. But yeah, it's probably better for you to kind of go over the run again and tell me what you remember of it.
Yeah, so early game, like Avasan, that was pretty good. Like I got, for my splits, like a sub 13 lake, which I usually don't get without lake clip. Wooded was a bit rough. I was actually really worried about nut clip because before the stream, or before the race, I was having a lot of trouble with it. So I guess I wasn't paying attention to the rest of the kingdom, so kind of was a little shaky there. Lost. The beginning was weird, and just the spin pounds in general were troublesome. But Seaside, that was interesting. But Bowser's, I actually golded that split by like 3 seconds, I think. I'll have to retime it, but that was pretty solid for me.
Oh yeah, that Bowser's surely pretty nicely done. But yeah, Stravos, obviously, I mean, I know you've just been getting back into the game a little bit more, and you've been practicing more and more, and probably mainly once again having some issues in Bowser's. And what was it? There was one thing that was bigger. Was it?
Like in this race in particular?
Yeah, I think so. There was one thing that kind of said, what did the Ford and Flower Road scheme? Obviously, yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, so I feel like my start, like I was a little bit behind Curbs, right? But I wasn't too worried. But like I was still confident. I was keeping everything under control. I was racing, until that mistake in Wooded, that death actually. That came out of nowhere. It was something that we lovingly refer to as a value dive.
Yeah, we brought that up, yeah.
And it just, I don't know, that kind of demoralized me. Even so, I held it together and played really well until probably Bowser's again. And then, like, at that point, I was just realizing Curbs wasn't making any real big mistakes. I was pretty confident he'd probably keep it together. I was getting tired. I was getting drained. I couldn't keep it together at that point. And even still, the death I made in Bowser's didn't seem to make sense. I swear I should have saved it with a homing, but it didn't work.
Yeah, quite unfortunate this one. I was quite surprised, like, if that's actually the setup you go for. We see most people like kind of like turn their camera, but you run like a little curve there, which is also interesting. And if that's something that has been working for you, I'm obviously not going to tell you to do it differently. But anyways, we brought up earlier how this is not going to be the end of this tournament for you. There's the losers bracket still waiting on you. I think your side of the bracket has I think your side of the bracket has Mozerks, right?
Yeah.
Like Mozerks, Eggy, and Swiftsay, and someone else.
I want to say...
And a Rolme. That match just happened today. A Rolme did come out with the victory, so it'll be the winner of a Rolme versus Little Aggie that you will be facing next.
Oh, okay. So yeah, definitely pretty, obviously only top runners really remaining in this one, but definitely high chances for Stravos to even go further. Once again, he's just really getting back into these racing habits. And yeah, on the other side, we will be seeing a winners finals actually between Kirbs and GSA. And if you guys don't know exactly how this is working, winners finals is basically going to be one match between these guys. Is only going to be a best of one, and the winner of this match will be headed into the grand finals and will be there with the winners spot. So he will basically, if he wins the grand final match, it will be like over. But if he was to lose, there will be an actual second match where the guy coming out of the losers bracket will have a chance to challenge him again to then really decide the full winner. But we'll get into this more as this tournament is proceeding. For now, we will actually go into a little bit of a break for around, let me see. Okay, next one is starting in 2 hours, and it's actually going to be Rhea versus Equan, another match in the loser bracket down there, and the winner of that match will be facing Chaos. So yeah, once again, super hype matchups waiting down there. And Rhea versus Equan is something you guys definitely do not want to miss. So we are going to be signing off for a little bit, but make sure to follow the channel, make sure to follow Stravos and LilKirbs. And thank you so much for joining us on this one, and see you guys in the next race.